Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your paperback with margins in InDesign. This is going to be part of a series where we're going to set up your paperback from start to finish so that you can start formatting it yourself in InDesign. Now you're asking, Joe, why would you do this? It's silly. You're a formatter, you're a designer. Don't you want people to come to you and pay? It's true. Yes, it is my business to format, but I want to give indie authors who are on a budget the freedom to be able to do this if they already have the software. For those other people who might be cheaper to come to me to do their books instead of paying 22 or 40 bucks a month, which is the Adobe iCloud. But some people already have InDesign. Maybe they're using it for something else. Maybe they have something else on their cloud. So I'm going to show you how to do that, because when I went to look to learn how to format in InDesign for paperbacks, I couldn't find anything. A lot of them were not very open about why the margins were the way they were. So we're going to get started on that today. So the first thing that we're going to go do is this left top hand corner here. We're going to hit new file, that big blue button. And it's going to bring us to this sub menu, this pop-up menu. We're going to keep it on custom. I'm just going to label this 5x8. Now, a lot of the time, if you are using, we're going to name this 5x8 bleed, because a lot of the time, if you are using InDesign, it's because you need to put pictures. Anytime you put pictures of any size into your paperback, you need to have it set to bleed settings. So we're just going to set this by bleed. If it's not bleed, then all you have to do is put 5x8 or 6x9, and that's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. So we're going to change the units, and we're going to go to inches, because I have no idea what picus is. I think it's for like magazine formatting. And as you can see, it's already actually done it for me, 5.125 by 8.25. It's already set because I do this so often on here. So 5.125 is going to be the width, and 8.25 is going to be the inches. And again, if you're not doing bleed, you can just take out these extra numbers after the point and not even worry about it. We're going to make sure that we're set to portraits. Pages, I just start with one page only. I like it to be clean when it starts. I'm going to start number 1. And then the most important thing is to make sure we have those facing pages. That's going to give us those 2 pages, one right next to another. And we would call these mirror margins. In Microsoft Word, this is basically, but we want to make sure that they're facing pages. We don't have to worry about columns or the gutter of columns. This is literally just for the thing itself. There are no columns in this because of the fact that, well, we are doing a paperback and not a magazine. So we're going to come here to margins. And so if you go to KDP, and this is what confuses people about formatting their paperback in anything, including Microsoft Word, is because when you go to the KDP website and you look at their trim sizes and you come down here, at least 0.25 or at least 3.75. But if you really take that, the 0.375 isn't a huge amount for margin sizes, especially for like the inside gutter margins. If you come down here, you want the inside gutter margins to be 0.5, and then 0.25 on everything else at least. So I automatically go with what I am given as a template by Amazon. So my book originally was actually 300 and something pages. Actually, let's see how many pages was it? I think it turned out to be 360, almost 400 pages paperback. 381, 382. And so I fell somewhere in this category, but to be honest, this was not what I set my inside gutter margin at. I tried that and it didn't go down very well. And so I just decided to use exactly what Amazon gave me. I tweaked it by like 0.1. So Amazon gives you 0.75 for the top, 0.75 for the bottom, 0.6 for the outside margin, I believe. And we're just going to double check that here. Oh, perfect. This is what I was looking for. So we're just going to double check that margin here. And then I'm going to show you how I custom did it. So 0.75 for top, bottom, and the inside, 0.5 for the outside, and the gutter was 0.13. So if you come back to InDesign, so we're going to change this to 0.5, but we're just going to set this up exactly like that. So the only difference is the inside gutter. And the reason that is because this does not, if you come to Microsoft Word, they have the inside gutter margin here. And then they have this gutter margin. This gutter margin is extra. It's for the spine. And as you can see, it's getting bigger right here in these two facing pages. These are our mirror margins. These are the two facing pages. And so it gets bigger, and that's basically the spine is dependent on your page count. But you're like, Joe, I don't really know my page count. How can I know the gutter margin? Well, most people fall in line at the 0.13. It's just a little extra. And then of course we've got that inside gutter margin, which is 0.75. So we're going to add 0.75 and 0.13 to get 0.88 inches on everything else. And again, we're going to take a look at what this looks like in InDesign and if we need to make any changes. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually changing these bleed. Bleed is basically where you want your pictures to go out to. This actually ended up being a little much when I did it. Make sure that if you're changing margins for the first time, that you're unlocking it right here with this little lock. Otherwise, like I just did with the bleed and the slug, if I change this to like 0.12, it's going to change them all. So you just have to unlock it here so that it doesn't change them all. And we don't even have to worry about slug. And then we're going to hit create. So this is what it's going to look like here. As you can see, there is obviously more room over here on this left side. And the reason that is because of the fact that this is where the spine is. We're going to add that spine right there. So it's automatically having that extra 0.13 on top of all this. So even though it's going to look even, when you go to like open your book, it doesn't look even on the page. This red line around the edges here that's our bleed, and that's where we're going to want any pictures to extend to, giving yourself a safety margin. And again, so if you come over here and you take a look at your margins, it's going to be under properties under this panel, and we'll go through this panel in another video. We have our width, our height, our facing pages, and then we of course we have our margins. And we can adjust these. If you find that maybe you don't like that the outside margins is 0.5 and you want it to be really even, you can do that. Like I said, I tend to keep these all of the same if I can. And if you go back and you look at what theirs is, it's going to be the same. Like I said, and I go off of these. The only thing that ever changes is going to be this gutter margin here. So if we go back to the website, to KDP, and your book, most books, especially romance books, tend to be within 151 to 300 pages. Your inside gutter is going to be that 0.15. Now, again, when I did and I went to 300 pages and I was above that, when I added that 0.625, it came out absolutely atrocious. The margins were all off. It didn't look right. So if we exit out of this, and this is my shattered pieces here. I'm going to pronounce so you can kind of see my margins. And I'm going to come up here. I'm going to make this bigger for you so you can see it better. And I'm going to go to view, and we're going to do multiple pages. And this is so you can see multiple pages at once. I'm going to hit grid line here. And this grid line is where my margins are. And so you can tell, so this one here on page 2 over here, and then page 1, chapter 1 on page 3 are going to be those facing pages. And so you can see where these margins are. These are the outside margins here along the left side. And if we go and we hit layout and we go to where my margins are, you can see mine are slightly different. My outside is 0.65. and my gutter is 0.12. So if we change the 0.16, so I have a little more. So if we change that to 0.15, and maybe we change this to 0.13, and we hit 5 all around here because I just did 0.6 better. And then we press, make sure we hit whole document here. You can kind of see the change there. And to be fair, my next book will actually be farther out. But this is my first book. It was a lot of pages. But as you can see, my margins were the exact same, despite the fact that my book was 374 pages. So the 0.13 works out really well because the inside gutter margin is what you want that to be. And so when you're adding 7 plus 1, you're getting that perfect gutter size. All right, so we're going to go back to InDesign here. And again, I really like the way this works. This looks really good. Again, you can play with it and kind of find what you like when you export it or anything like that. You can definitely go through and play with it on your PDF. You can export it to PDF and then pull it up to see what it looks like. I always recommend ordering proof copies, but that's for another time. We'll talk about that later. So this was all about margins and creating your custom page sizes. The next video is going to be about our parent pages, or if you have an older version of Adobe InDesign, it'll be about your master pages. Until the next video, thanks for watching.